Today we are performing some of the 3-year maintenance functions on M&R's IMAGE STE. It's been about 3 years since the purchase of this 2-head IMAGE STE, and it's certainly due for maintenance. The first head has been experiencing a loss of information, which has progressively gotten worse over the past 6 months. Now seems to be the perfect time, as a last resort, to throw a Hail Mary, flush the head, and see if it will clear up so we can avoid a head replacement. First, we will start with running a nozzle check. From your control panel, press the Auto Clean. This will uncap your heads, flush them, and engage the wipers twice. Now turn off the exposure because you don't want them to run. This is done by clicking Exposure Off on the smaller control panel on the machine. Now from the computer control panel, click Check Nozzle. As with exposing regular screens, we wait for the red light and push the Start Print button. As you can see, Head 2 printed clearly, but Head 1 is having issues. There is a lot of information missing. We will see if we can avoid a head replacement by going through the 3-year service functions. We will show you the parts that had to be ordered and available for today. This is the O-ring filter. Since this is a 2-head machine, you will need 2 of these. But for today's demonstration, we will replace one now and the other one later. These are new O-rings. We are going to replace the screws along with the wiper blades or squeegee blades here. This is a needle filter. It is for the ink flow. There are 2 of these on this machine. One is for the ink and one is for the flushing solution. Since the machine has never been flushed, we should be okay on the flushing solution line and will only replace the ink line. This is the PLC battery. The manufacturer recommends changing this out every 3 years, so today we will do that as well. First, take all the covers off, the top, the side, and the front covers. It looks like there may be a few leaks as there is a lot of ink through here. Notice the leaking here and also on top here. It looks like it's leaking through this fitting and why we are going to replace the O-rings. Since we are going to take this line off to replace this filter and the O-ring, we want to first turn this lever all the way up to close the head completely. Now the filter and line come off by unscrewing them. It looks like these are the older style of O-rings, and we are replacing them with the new style, so they will need to come out. You can also see there is a size difference. Perhaps it has gotten compressed over time. These filters are directional. Generally, the way you see the writing is the way it sits. If you look at it closely around the rim, you will see it says IN, representing the direction of flow. When you put the line back on, it's important to remember not to put too much torque on it. The flanges here are sensitive, and if you crank down on them too hard, they can crack and spring a leak. We will just tighten them snug. Give it a little more pressure and make sure to prevent it from rolling around. Put the bottom one on first, because the one on top has the barrel adjusted so it can rotate around on its shaft. As you can see, we have a lot of air in the line here, and some air here from the replacement. The lines in the back of the head are pretty much empty, and the line going from the filter to the head has air in it as well. The way this works is the ink flows from this main line into the sub-tank, and from there through these valves and down to the head. We are now going to go through the flushing procedure. Since this head is printing at 100%, we don't want to flush that head. Flushing the heads are the last resort function, so we will only flush head 1 since that is the head experiencing the issue. Let's turn the valve for head 2 completely off and turn the valve for head 1 about halfway down so the valve is pointed directly at us. As for the valves down here, most of these machines come with a cover showing the numbers corresponding to each head. If your machine does not have the numbers, the orientation is from the bottom up. Now the valve on top is ready to have flushing fluid pushed through it. We need to open up the bottom valve on head number 1 to allow it to flow down through and to the print head, and down the back side into the drain. Now that both of these are open, we go back to the computer and open the manual clean. We are looking for F because F stands for flush. When we are pushing the F, We can hold down the button for as long as we want to allow us to push all the ink and flushing solution through the head. As the flushing solution goes through, you will start seeing this line turn pink as the ink is pushed through the line. Once we see a good pink stream throughout the whole line, shut the back valve off to create back pressure and continue holding F. This will force the ink to go through the print head. We typically hold the button for another 10 or 15 seconds. Once you see the back lines cleaned of ink, then open this valve up again and open the top valve all the way to introduce ink back into the line. Now we are going to do another auto clean, nozzle check, and see where we are. It looks like there's a lot of ink from around the print heads. We will need to move the heads all the way to the end and wipe the excess ink from around the print heads. Be sure not to touch the print heads. We use a microfiber cloth to gently wipe the extra ink away. Since the ink is a little dry, we will use a little bit of iClean solution to get the ink off. Next, we will change the wipers. In order to do this, we first need to take the cover off. If it has been a while since you have changed your wipers, you will need to scrape some of the dried ink off to find the screws. It looks like we will need to use a little cleaning solution here too. They were changed in the first year, but skipped year 2, so in year 3 we will need to do some extra work. Before you take the old wipers off, you should place the new one on the tray so you can see the orientation of wipers. Let's spend a little time cleaning the tray. Now let's take the new wipers and place them on the tray in the orientation. Since the wipers are rubber, let's push the screws in a little bit to get them started. You can see the hole is pretty clear. Let's run the screws down first until the bottom of the rubber touches and we still have some flexibility to find the other screw holes. Once they are all seated down, then go back and snug them up. Now we are going to clean the capping station. It looks pretty clean, so we don't need to take everything out. We are only going to wipe up some of the drops and take the caps off. You can see they have a spring. We are going to take them off, clean them up, and make some minor adjustments to put a little more tension in the spring. Make sure you have your O-rings when you are putting the plate back in. Now we are going to take the second cap off and repeat the same process. Next, we are going to change the needle filters. In order to do that, we need to turn the machine completely off. Notice the arrow showing the direction of the flow. You want to make sure the arrow is pointing up. Cut the zip ties first. Make sure you have a couple of rags in place so you don't spill the ink on the machine. Install the new filter and make sure the arrow is up. Remember, you don't need a ton of torque, just snug them up. A good practice is to always note the date so you know when the last time it was changed. While we are down here, let's check the waste tank. It looks like it would be a good time to wash it out. Now remember to turn the machine back on. Let's change the battery. When changing the battery with the power on, it is critical that we make sure we plug the new one in the right direction. If you hook up the battery in the wrong direction, you will have problems. We suggest you take a picture or write down the orientation of the wires to make sure you connect the new one correctly. We have completed all the maintenance and it's time for another nozzle check. It looks like we're missing a lot of nozzles and we have a banding streak. The missing nozzles may or may not be covered up by the second head. However, the banding streak will cause horizontal gaps on the screen. So it looks like we have exhausted all our options and we'll have to do a head replacement to get this machine to 100%. We will order the new head, and when they arrive, we will bring that to you on part 2 of this video. Please like and follow us on Facebook to make sure you do not miss part 2 of this video. Please leave your comments and questions down below.